I have some questions for you about being an SLP. What do you do as an SLP? And do you work with singers? How do you help other singers?
So, as an SLP right now, I professionally work in the educational setting, school. I'm at two high schools in Harlem, in New York. So I work mostly on literacy, comprehension, reading, writing skills, vocabulary. I don't really work on a regular basis right now with either voice clients or voice patients. The distinction being that usually we say patients if we're in a medical clinic or a hospital. But I have, and I like to think of what I do more with singers, with voice clients as voice optimization rather than voice therapy or voice rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
And the distinction in my mind is people who are rehabilitating their voice have a real pathology or perhaps have had something like throat cancer and they're trying to regain some semblance of a normal functioning vocal mechanism, which is a very different thing than helping someone who doesn't really have a damaged larynx or damaged vocal folds, but wants to optimize or maximize their resonance and their vocal potential. So that is for me what I focus on when I've worked with voice clients.
Mm-hmm.
And then with singers, of course, there's, again, it comes back to being able to speak in a supported manner that it allows for an easier transition into singing and also provides for less wear and tear over time. Because no matter how good a technician and how good a singer you are, there is a degree of strain, or not strain, but stress that you're putting on the vocal mechanism.
Yeah.
When you're singing, you have to allow less time.
Well, on that note,
recovery.
A lot of singers, I myself included, have oversung to the point where I had a vocal hemorrhage. And it happened about 8 years ago when I was singing pretty regularly, several hours a day, and doing very well. I was very prolifically performing out there. And so I had to take vocal rest for like 5 weeks, as my my SLP told me, only sing when you get paid, or only talk when you get paid, which was basically all the time because I was singing and teaching. But what would you say, because there are other very famous singers out there who've had so many, I mean, you have Julie Andrews who had vocal nodes, you have Adele who had a vocal hemorrhage on stage and she had to like cancel the rest of her tour. I think this was like 3 or 4 years ago, maybe now. Can you talk about preventative measures? And can you talk about when you do have a real vocal issue like that, how to really care for it?
So it's sort of the same answer, which is vocal hygiene practices. Hydration is like number one. Drink a lot of water. I mean, obviously anything can be in excess, but staying hydrated is the number one defense that you can use to ward off vocal damage or permanent vocal damage. Also, making sure that you allow for rest and downtime where you, even when you're singing at your absolute best and you feel like you're really in the groove, because it is an athletic activity. You're using your body and you're using your vocal folds. And remember, vocal folds are these tiny little thing about really the entire area is maybe the size of a dime. So I think in people's minds we think that it's much larger. No, that the larynx is a bit larger, but the vocal folds themselves are tiny, and we're asking them to do a lot. So imagine if you were clapping your hands over and over and over again. What would happen to your hands? They would invariably get red, and if you kept going, it would probably start to hurt. And if you kept going, they would develop calluses. That's essentially what's going on with your vocal folds if you do it to excess. So you have to give yourself downtime. So hydration, downtime. Some people talk about steam therapy. It's another sort of way of maybe hydrating the whole area, and the oronasopharynx, this whole, your nose and your mouth and your throat. But those are, I think, the top things. So hydration and rest.
Right. Now, when we're
Okay,
talking
then
about
of course, vocal technique. Yeah.
well, yeah, vocal
Go ahead.
technique for sure.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about hydration, like somebody like me, I drink, oh goodness, I probably drink my whole body weight in water. I do almost every single day. I drink probably more than enough, but I drink it over the course of the day. And I want to speak to that because from what I've been told and what I've read is don't drink a lot all at once, because if you do, you can actually strip your vocal folds of the necessary moisture, and that can actually produce further damage. So it can actually have the opposite effect. You think you're hydrating so much that drinking a glass of water before you go on stage could actually induce further damage, or because you're not as hydrated, you have to actually wait for your body to bring the fluids, the mucus back up to coat your vocal folds in the right way. Am I right about that?
So, to be honest with you, I haven't heard that specifically, but I could see where that could be absolutely the case. My understanding about hydration is that where I would absolutely agree with you is that it's not something that you should do. The idea of taking, like, let's say a 2 or 3 liter bottle of water and chugging it is not the way to go, because your body is very efficient and will just get rid of it.
Right.
You'll be running to the bathroom a whole lot. So really, in terms of staying hydrated, I think it's much better to take smaller amounts of water throughout the day.
Right.
And there are also foods like celery or certain fruits, apple, exactly, that do a lot for hydration. So, and smoothies also. I'm not talking about like vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream smoothies, but like think more like your green, kale, whatever, anything that's kind of a leafy green vegetable, things of that nature. So you talk about vegetables, fruits, foods that are naturally have a high water content.
Mm-hmm.
And your body then assimilates the hydration or the water, and you're also getting nutrients and minerals and things that are also giving you energy and vitality as well.
Right,
So that's
right.
also,
I love that we went into nutrition for singers. I think that's something that I definitely want to address, and maybe we'll have you on again and talk a lot about that in particular, because to me that's something that I started to really focus on when I was young, and I realized, ooh, I was kind of a chunky teenager, and I was like, but I want to play those roles, but I don't look like that, so I need to eat better and work out. And what I realized was I became super obsessed with health and working out. And then I got deep into nutrition for singers and yoga for singers and all of those things that you don't think about necessarily when it comes to working your technique or taking care of your voice and vocal hygiene and vocal care, but it's all included, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I definitely am a huge proponent of. So when we were talking about the things to keep you hydrated, likewise, there are a lot of things that you have to avoid in order to, that are dehydrating. Anything that's too salty, right?
Absolutely, sure.
Anything
Yeah,
that,
And it's also, again, it's a very personal thing. Some people swear by one thing, other people swear by another. In the end, we are all unique.
I
And
drink a shot of whiskey before I get up and sing.
actually,
I
there's
know.
more than one famous opera singer that was their technique.
Yeah, and
You
smoking
know?
a bunch of cigarettes before
Oh,
they got on
absolutely,
stage too.
absolutely. So, I mean, again, I certainly don't endorse that, but it just goes to show that there are, all of us, we are unique.
Yep.
I think it's really important to be in touch with your body, to really listen to your body, and decide, okay, this works, this doesn't work.
Right.
And also to keep in mind that over time your body will change.
Right. Oh, yes.
So,
Well, that's a whole other separate issue,
right,
especially when it comes to women and changing and,
right,
and men changing. When you guys, when we go through puberty and prepubescent, and then the changes in our voices, and then, as we get older, all the different changes that occur,
absolutely.
would be such a great topic too to talk about. Actually, I would love to have you on for that. Maybe we can have like a panel. I think we should have a panel
Sure.
of SLPs. Of us. I have two, you and another good friend of mine as well is a former singer.
Sure.
So that would be a great
Cool.
thing to have too.
Absolutely.
So, okay, on that note, let's make a plan and maybe do a Q&A. I think that would be a great idea to do for a Q&A with you on Facebook on the Successful Singers site.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
we could talk about that kind of stuff. I think that would be a wonderful topic to discuss.
Okay.
Actually, we have so many things we could talk about. I love it. I love having an SLP here to talk and give us and share all that information, because it's so important what we do as singers.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know what an SLP is, speech language pathology, I mean, right? You're a pathologist. You speak to the health and care and rehabilitation of the voice.
Right.
So,
right.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Lucas Tannous, and he is an SLP in New York City, former opera singer.
You're making me feel very famous. Very famous.
I know. Well, I was a cruise director. What can I say? I know how to announce.
Such a pleasure being here with you, Corinne. Thank you very much.
It was great having you. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate you being here with us. And so I do want to give I'm going to have to do a little bit of promotion of you because you have your own private practice. And can you tell us the website for your private practice?
So ltaccentvoice.com.
Okay.
And I'm just starting this private practice.
Yeah.
And it's both voice optimization and accent reduction.
So I love that about accent reduction. That is such a great field to get into. I know that on the corporate level, big bucks. So
knock on wood. Yes.
Yeah, knock on wood. We got the wood right there. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lucas, for being on with me. I really appreciate it. And check out his website, LT Accent Voice. And remember, moisturize, exercise, and vocalize.